I'm delighted, Bala. Thank you for inviting me here to Qualitrol. We've done some interviews before, and we did a conference together, the Comet Conference, which Qualitrol sponsored. That was a lot of fun. Had one of the best technical conferences that I've ever been to, and that's not just because I was part of it. It just was really, really good. So we might need to do that again. Bala, let's talk, because I know this, but let's talk a little bit about how you got in the industry. Why the power industry? Because it wasn't sexy when you got in it. It is now. It wasn't then.
First of all, welcome to Qualitrol. I know that we have met in multiple different conferences, had numerous conversations in the past. Very happy to host you at Qualitrol. This industry is definitely the most important industry you want to be in right now.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Imagine when we used to talk about data centers in giga processing units to data centers now becoming like, hey, I'm putting a gigawatt actually data center, right? Megawatt data centers. So electricity has become the most fundamental unit through which we are defining the progress of the world today.
Right.
In terms of all that electrification, the renewables coming in, and the data centers getting more and more with artificial intelligence. So I think this is probably the most sexiest industry today, actually. It definitely was not the one, actually, when I first started. Right?
It is today, but it wasn't then.
It wasn't there. Right?
Yeah.
It used to be a cyclical industry flowing up and down based on the GDP of a country. I think in the last 4 years, the industry has got fundamentally decoupled from GDP.
Really?
Yeah. And that's why you're seeing such a phenomenal growth that is happening in the industry. Like without electrification, I think there's no progress for humanity. I think that is the most basic and fundamental thing the world has finally come to its grip, in my personal opinion. That's why this industry is going to be good for the foreseeable future.
Because I remember when we went from, especially talking about transformers, we went from transformers that were they were all old. I think at the time when I got in the industry, they were an average of 36 years old, the power transformer, and now they're 42 years old average. But they weren't designed to run 42 years. And some people are saying, no, we're going to get 75 years out of the transformer. But today, when you look at what's happening, there's a specific thing happening in the transformer industry, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But there's a broader thing happening, as you mentioned, in the whole power industry, the grid. Talk a little bit about what some of those buzzwords are. From reliability to resilience, you can't use those two. Those are mine.
No.
Now you can use any other buzzword. What's going on in the industry right now?
I think the most important, it's not a buzzword, but it's the most important word, in my opinion, to understand is electrification.
You've used that before.
We used that before, actually, right?
What does that mean?
So electrification is all about, using electricity as the most fundamental ways in which you get the work done.
You
right?
cook.
You drive. You cook. You drive. Your process changes. It used to be fossil fuels before. Now they look at actually different ways of looking at creating heat. Yeah. So I think the electrification is fundamentally changing the way we look at things. Like buildings are getting transformed. Like, remember actually 20 years, 25 years back, how many connected devices we had in our houses? Probably a computer.
Yeah.
Right? And a TV.
Yeah.
Now look at actually with the number of different connected devices today. Like, well, at least in my home, I will tell you, like I have 256 devices connected in my home.
No.
All the light bulbs, all the appliances.
Yeah.
I think the electrification is definitely a trend. That's in the buildings. That's in the transport. That's in the industries, and data centers. So all of these are definitely the progress of adopting electrification. In my opinion, that's number one. Yeah. I think the world is also, in my personal opinion, is changing on the energy mix side. I think it is happening, right? There's no amount of trying to hold on to the past is going to keep this progress from happening.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of energy mix change. I think we need all type of energy. We need every bit of energy to keep making this progress on electrification happen. I think that progress towards this energy mix change is also an important buzzword. And I think the third most important one is the affordability.
That's the new buzzword.
That's a new
I was going to
buzzword,
say,
yeah.
is affordability an issue?
Yes.
And I've been at 2 conferences, and several CEOs of major utilities are using the word affordability. And I thought, where did that one come from? That's the new one. So I'm going to use that too now. That's
Right.
mine.
And I'll give a personal experience on this one. Like, lived in Toronto for almost 15 years. The energy, the peak price I was paying 8 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
And the nominal rate was 6 cents per kilowatt hour. I moved to Boston 4 years back. I was shocked by those 32 cents per kilowatt hour, right? It clearly tells you, and it goes up every year. And it is going to keep going up. The affordability is the most important thing that we need to think about in terms of how this transition happens and how do we make sure that energy doesn't become an expensive commodity.
Yeah. You hear a lot about, to go along with affordability, is the integration in the grid, just the interconnectability. You got 200 and some odd things in your house. The grid is a complex animal. When you add distributed energy resources, wind, solar, batteries, the whole 9 yards, you get a much more, if you come back, you get a complex, especially in the United States. Unlike Europe that have national, I mean, they're trying to work to interconnections in Europe, but we've got east, west, ERCOT, all of the 50 states, they all have regulators. It's a very complex grid that we're trying to electrify, make simple, but at the same time protect, right? That's kind of what we have to do in the United States. One of the things that makes that the heart of it all, so I'm going to go to what I love and I hope what you love, the transformer.
Right.
There's a lot going on in the grid, and there's even more going on in the heart of the grid, and that's the transformer, and that's at every level. What is your take on where we are in the transformer industry right now?
So I'll give before I answer that question, I want to probably touch on one important aspect, right? The US grid is designed for reliability. It is not designed for economic optimization. That's the most important thing. You want to keep the power on for 99.99% of the time. As the grid was aging a lot, and the latest Association of Civil Engineers, who look at every few years and give a grading to the infrastructure in the US, have given a D+ to the electrical grid.
Really?
Because we have let that industry age quite a bit, actually. And that's one of the things that we all talk about is the aging of the assets. And transformer is a very important asset. The transformers are designed for a 25 years asset life. Now we talk about they're aging 30, 40, 50.
Yeah.
I come from a trip in Europe from a very famous industrial company. They were telling they have 400 sites in Europe, and they have 50 MVA transformers, 800 of them locally producing power as a backup, more than 70 years old.
Wow.
Blissfully unaware of what's going on in the industry in terms of transformer procurement and the lead time it is taking to really buy a transformer in the industry. So I think the number one and important thing is that reliability design and the aging of the assets combined with the electrification, ensuring, and the data centers are all putting an enormous strain on the grid itself.
Yeah.
And this is where the transformer comes into play. The transformer story is, it's a workhorse. It's a silent workhorse in the power grid. It's been designed to do its job. And most of them do their job actually for 25, 30, 40 years of the time. But if you lose a power transformer, you lose a substation. You lose a city. You lose power to hundreds of thousands of millions of people, depending on how critical those transformers are. We have seen great evidences of that with the Heathrow Airport incident, which took the Heathrow Airport out for almost a day and a half and caused a lot of chaos. So the transformer industry is going through a transformation. This industry today has a huge supply and demand gap. The supply-demand gap in the US is close to 40%. So the demand went up very high post-COVID. The post-COVID pent-up demand combined with the electrification and the energy mix. You put a coal plant, you probably need a transformer, a power transformer. Yeah, I'm just giving an equivalent in terms of the ratio. But if you put actually an equivalent a wind or solar, you need actually at least and 8 to 10 times more transformers actually to make that level of power from a pure availability of capacity perspective.
Correct.
So the transformer demand has gone up pretty high actually in the last 4 years' time. So I think this industry definitely is going through a huge upsurge. And this demand versus supply gap is not going to be met at least for the next 5 to 6 years' time. While the capacities are coming up from a lot of different places, a lot of different players are investing in the US globally, it is still a highly inflationary, a big demand supply gap at this stage in the transformer industry. That's where Qualitrol comes into play.
Right. So before we get to step back a bit, I want to talk about condition monitoring.
Yeah.
Because there was a certain amount of that. I mean, people did some DGA analysis and they sent it to the lab once a year. You know, you sample your transformer once a year. That's not the case anymore. Today, if you're not doing like RCM, reliability-centered monitoring, it used to be reliability-centered maintenance. Well, it's not anymore. It's monitoring. Don't maintain it, monitor it.
Right.
Talk about the whole idea of IoT, monitoring, and the smart digital revolution that's also going on.
Correct. So I want to give a perspective on this
Okay.
one, right? How this whole monitoring. The protection and control is a must from a reliability perspective.
Right.
The monitoring was always an option. It's almost like an insurance that only very few premium players were taking in the past.
Right.
So they were pretty happy with their assets monitored through an offline sample. That was the industry, like most for 30, 40, 50 years. That's exactly how this industry was monitoring. That's why it is more of a reactive maintenance.
Yeah.
It's more of a scheduled maintenance. It was not really reliability-centered maintenance or reliability-centered monitoring. Now it is starting to pick up because assets are getting more and more aged, and monitoring is a must. And that monitoring is a must because when you have an unscheduled outage, it's going to have a lot of repercussions in terms of how the power flows in the grid and how you need to reroute the power and the time it takes actually to go replace a transformer. So more and more of customers are turning towards monitoring as a proactive monitoring, more predictive maintenance on their critical assets themselves. And this is moving, the industry is moving towards this part, but still is not very high. Still at 20 to 25% of the power transformers globally are monitored by a reliability-centered maintenance or monitoring practice.
Really?
It is not actually as would imagine that. So the industry is still, in my opinion, on a pretty early stages of accepting this part.
We need to get data, the operating data of the grid to the right people to make the right decision. And that is also a change for people. You have, the people that managed the grid in the past managed to a certain way. Today, when you have that, because even though there's only 25% monitored, there's more monitoring than there's ever been. There's more data than there's ever been. So talk a little bit about that whole scope of monitoring.
I think very important point. Data is the most important aspect of it. I don't think there is a lack of data in the grid. And the grid is, if you go talk to a utility planner, utility operator, and you want to tell them actually that, hey, we want to automate, we want to collect it, they will say, like, we have been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. That's how we have been running this bulk power system for a long time. I think the usable part of the data is only 2% so far.
Really?
Yes.
98% is not
98%
usable.
of the data has been lying dormant, actually. It has never been utilized from how to unlock the efficiency of the grid itself by leveraging this.
Right.
I think that 98% is where the asset part of the story comes in. So I'll give you a classic example. Like, Qualitrol collects partial discharge data on critical electrical assets, all type of assets, transformers, motors, generators, bushing, reactors. We collect all these data. Probably some of the largest collection of partial discharge data, millions of data sets owned by us. And we have been using machine learning techniques for the last 20 to 30 years into modeling the behavior of how partial discharges can come and affect the integrity of the asset itself.
Yeah.
So this data we collect, we model it, we inform, hey, your machine has been going through a certain type of partial discharge. You want to keep an eye on X, Y, and Z to make sure that your machine's integrity is well protected. We have been doing that part. But this is more like more like an offline model of leveraging the data.
Right.
Right? And I think there is a lot more actually AI can unlock. Now, can you really model the physical asset into a digital twin as design system, as operated system? Now, what is the difference between them? Can we better improve the efficiency of it? Can you keep this transformer alive for another 20 years? Can you have a better visibility on what's going on inside the data? I think all these things requires far more thoughtful process of how do you take the data, how do you convert this data into a contextual data, the contextual data becoming an actionable intelligence. And actionable intelligence is more like a precision intelligence for the customers. And that's exactly where Qualitrol comes into and helps customers see that precision intelligence that is required for them to help improve the workflow of their maintenance engineers.
As the president of Qualitrol, you're bringing a lot of change, but change is needed. I knew the old Qualitrol. You made gauges. They're the most ubiquitous gauges in the world. I mean, when you go to a transformer, you look at a gauge, 9 times out of 10, I've always seen Qualitrol. So that's what I've kind of known you as. I visited your Serveron plant when it was in Portland. Fantastic. And now you do that here in Rochester. But that's when I started to see Qualitrol change. You make smart gauges, you make smart things, you make monitoring. Talk a little bit about the journey that you've seen since you've been at Qualitrol and the direction that you want to take it.
And Qualitrol is well known for those precision sensors.
Right.
These are safety products.
Yeah.
Like customers have a huge trust in the quality of these safety products that we make, so that they have a peace of mind actually when they put these, as you said, like 9 out of 10 transformers you've seen are with the Qualitrol products, purely because of the reputation that we have built over the last 80 years in making those precision sensors, right? That gives a peace of mind to our customer. But we also, as I said, actually, like, we have been an industrial leader in providing the advanced sensor systems that monitors almost every critical electrical assets you can imagine in the power system, from generators to motors to transformers to bushings to reactors to grid monitoring. We have been providing these advanced systems for a very, very long time. And we would continue to accelerate on that journey, because as we see the time is right with the grid constrained more and more of digitalization that's happening in the grid for better workflow management of the aging infrastructure and aging workforce, Qualitrol will continue to accelerate on this journey. And one of the most important journey that we have seen and we are accelerating on is also around, hey, how do we convert these advanced system that has been collecting a lot of data for which we are giving expert services into actionable insights that customer can get at will?
So I love the fact that you've got you have to have a global perspective of the market, because it's different. Europe is different than the US. Those differences, China, much different than the rest of the world, actually. But when you look at Belfast is for all of Europe?
We make safety products in Belfast.
Okay.
We make grid monitoring products in Belfast. We do the GIS products in Belfast, but we also integrate them all in Fairport as well.
Okay.
Right. So we are pretty, and we have value-added resellers that are globally available for us to take our sensors and build the systems as well.
Okay.
So we kind of bring from a product perspective the ability to really do these in different locations.
Okay. Talk about, so one of your pedigrees then is global.
Right.
What are some of the other, because I think culture trumps strategy, just trumps everything. Culture of organizations today is a lot of what makes them tick. You can call that their legacy, their history, their pedigree. And as you said, Qualitrol's been here a long time. Talk about the kind of culture that has been instilled and that you want to either protect or you want to begin to transform. Talk about that.
So Qualitrol culture is very good, actually. Like, we are part of, earlier part of the Danaher, corporation. We are part of Fortive, and now we are Ralliant. There is a very strong, business system that's been put in place to really drive this culture. This is a team actually that focuses extremely on creating value for the customers and value for the shareholders, so that day in and day out, we leverage something called the Ralliant Business System that drives the way we run our businesses for our customers and for our shareholders and for the people. And we are a people organization that focuses on creating that value and the purpose for the markets that we serve.
The future, what does it look like for Qualitrol? And you don't have to give away anything that's secret until you announce it, right? But what are you going to announce this next year? What are you really looking at? And then longer term?
There's a lot going on, right? The
Okay.
industry, I mean, you probably know how this industry is growing, and Qualitrol is no secret to that. We have been on an excellent growth journey for the last several years post-COVID, and our path to the future is also very bright. There's a lot of interesting new products that we would be launching in the future. We'll be expanding a lot more in the different geographies. So I see the future is pretty bright, actually, in terms of what we see. And as I said at the beginning, right, this industry is the industry to be in, actually, right?
That's right.
When you decouple an industry's growth from GDP, you want to be in it.
Yeah.
And Qualitrol is the middle of making that secular tailwind transition.
That's excellent. So the products that you make, without going into all of them, talk a little bit about what I would consider to be the backbone products. Of course, I mentioned Serveron. I still see the utility industry, the nuclear utility industry, kind of only uses Serveron. It's a kind of a known thing out there that, hey, don't try to go sell the nuclears, because Serveron has captured that market. They are the strictest about everything. So that's a big pedigree for Serveron. Does that flow all the way through the organization?
Absolutely. I think we have Serveron is a very important brand that looks at the dissolved gas analysis, as you said, rightfully said. Utility customers, whether it's a power plant or actually it is a transmission utility, distribution utility, a lot of industrial customers all over the world use the Serveron product.
Right.
So does they use our Iris brand products, which looks at the generators and the motors.
Right.
So a lot of industrial customers, a lot of generators. I would say any nuclear plant, any combined cycle power plant, the coal plant, pump storage, synchronous condensers, we provide those partial discharge monitoring systems that we consider as a pedigree for the advanced systems that we make. Yeah. And these are the advanced systems that comes with the capability to capture the signals and also the analytics that comes to unlock more insights for our customers.
Yeah, I got that. Why is partial discharge so important today? It's always been around, but today it's like PD. If you can monitor PD, if you can stop it, why is it so important?
I think PD is one of the most earliest thing that tells you whether an asset is going to experience a problem in the future or not.
Okay.
So if a PD happens, immediately detecting them actually tells you, hey, what is going on with your asset integrity? It's almost like detecting a cancer at stage 0. Detecting and operating stage 1 and 2 is like a DGA kind of an analysis, right? That's why we kind of help customers understand both part of it. Can you detect early? And if you fail to detect early, can you actually detect in the later stage? So both of these things are now seen by customers. A lot of customers who used to go to the stage 1, stage 2 of detection now also understand that it's important for them to go detect at stage 0. The generator systems have been doing that for quite a while. That is why, like, you go spend a $250 million generator, actually you don't want to compromise in buying a PD monitoring system that detects very early in the process when a partial discharge happens in a critical asset like that.
AI data centers, they're becoming ubiquitous again, and everybody's trying to build one, and they're trying to build it near. They're going to get power to these data centers. In Georgia, where I live, they just opened 2 new nuclear power plants. They were sold out the day that they came online. Why? Because North Atlanta has a lot, or all of the Atlanta area has a lot of data centers, particularly AI. Why is it so unique today? Why do data centers, and I know you mentioned it, you said, because I'm a reliability guy, you said 99.99. It's 5 nines, 99.999. 5.9 reliability is what data centers have to have. How is that a challenge to a company like Qualitrol?
So it is not a challenge, it's an opportunity,
Okay.
right? So now it makes it even more important actually for customers in their digitalization journey that they do monitor these assets. Because think about it, when was the last time we would have added loads that are big, bulk, that can drop off from the grid just like that?
Yeah.
We always actually have a pretty stable system of balancing act on the capacity side, energy side, because you are in a better position to predict the generation and predict the load.
Right.
Now, actually, these big data centers that are consuming in gigawatts,
Yeah,
they
right.
can't drop the load just like that, right? So I think the monitoring at the data center side, the monitoring at the utility side will allow now customers to navigate the transition of bringing a data center on and off in a much more seamless manner by making sure that you can put more insights in their hand at the very early stages of it and continuous stages of that. We do.
Okay.
Right. So the holy grail is obviously to know when actually it's going
Exactly.
to fail, right?
Yeah.
I think that exact.
A day before.
I think a millisecond before.
Okay,
I'm just
yeah.
kidding. So let me unpack this one, right? I think we do multiple levels of providing these analytics to different personas.
Okay.
Right. I think the number one persona is really the maintenance engineer. Can
Okay.
you make the life of that maintenance engineer easy?
Right.
That's number one.
Right.
I think that's where it helps reduce the workflow for these. We get embedded into the workflows of these maintenance engineers and help simplify the way they understand their assets. Number two is, now imagine this one, if you're consistently able to understand and provide analytics on the risk of the transformer itself, right? There's two things actually insurance industry prefers when it underwrites. One
Right.
is, hey, do I understand the risk associated with the failure? And then what does that mean from a catastrophe perspective? Can I truly actually go and reduce the premium on this one? If they understand these two, the premium goes down. If they don't understand these two, the premium goes up.
Right.
So a transformer like that is 5 million, 10 million, 15 million that has a very high premium can potentially come down if the monitoring and the insights unlocking can continue to tell the maintenance people and the planners when it's going to fail so that you can proactively maintain it. I think that reduces the premium on the transformers substantially. You put a 2.5% premium on a transformer for the 25 years of its lifetime. If it gets reduced actually to 2% because you're monitoring it, that 0.5% is a ROI that you can achieve in 2 to 3 years' time, while you don't need to pay it for the 25 years of the time period. So that's a second most important thing. And three, look at the workforce, right? We talked about the workforce at the beginning. There's not a lot of engineers that exist to go understand and analyze. If you want to attract the best talents, you need to have the state-of-the-art, digitalization. People are not going to be motivated by the steel and copper of the transformer. They're going to be motivated by the intelligence of the transformer. So we enable the intelligence of the transformer because we collect the data, we analyze the data, and we provide the insights. And that's going to attract a lot more of talents to come and serve this industry for the utilities.
Keeps getting sexier, doesn't it?
It does, actually, yes.
That's
yes.
right. When you think about where we are today and just kind of the next steps, you've got to be able to take that long term. And I think you've given me a good perspective of where Qualitrol is going. Let's get more specific. What's new for next year? Give me a sneak peek so I know before everybody else, before you go to IEEE or you go to Distributech. What's new?
So there's a lot of things that will be new actually from a product side. We have been continuously working on new software products that will unlock more insights for our customers. So we'll be launching 2 new software products that will help customers better understand the grid monitoring, fault identifications and fault classification. We'll also launch a new product that will better understand the automation of the analytics for our customers very soon. And we'll be launching a series of platforms as well in the future. That will be like, starting with next year, and it'll be a continuous flow of launches that we'll be looking into on the different advanced sensor technologies that we have.
And all of them made all around the world, locally?
They are made all around the world, local, as we said, actually. Because we have a transformer that is going in China in 765 kV with Qualitrol products, as in South Korea, in India, in Saudi, in Itaipu, in Brazil, or actually anywhere in the US. So we do actually make these products to go almost everywhere. A transformer is there, a motor is there, a generator is there.
Antarctica. You use
Not, probably we should actually. I should
yeah.
get an.
Get
I
that
should.
one
I
in.
should get to know that actually soon. Yes.
Yeah, you use the two words actionable insights. They happen to be AI. So AI, did you pick AI because
Oh, that was a good acronym as well. I
Yeah.
should use that now.
you should, yeah, because AI helps you give actionable insights. Right now, every transformer manufacturer I know, particularly in North America, is expanding. They're all building plant. They're adding on to plant. It doesn't matter what they make, whether they're small pad mount transformers, pole mount transformers. There's just a lot of manufacturers. So they're all at capacity. Is that a target market? So when they leave, and my point being, do they become resellers for you? That becomes something that gets specified on new, as well as putting it on the aging equipment, because you have to do both. Is it a different selling process into the OEMs?
Definitely yes. I think one is we work very closely with our OEMs.
Right.
OEMs are very important, channel for us. Obviously,
Yeah.
you can't build a transformer without a safety product. So
Right.
we definitely work with them. We also work with end customers and specify our products, which is how the specification process
Right,
works.
right,
I mean,
right.
it's globally, and your products need to be approved, and your product need to be certified.
Right.
So that's a challenge of this industry, right? So it means that the end customer also has to approve these products, while the OEMs or the EPCs have an option to go pick one versus the other. So we provide that experience of the end-to-end product selection from our basket to our OEMs. At the same time, we also provide actually that quality that they can depend on for the maintenance of their assets when it is commissioned
Yeah.
in the infrastructure. So both channels are very important channels.
Okay, excellent. Bala, as normal, it's been wonderful. I'll see you at one of those events, and we might do this again and just say what happened now that's different than what happened when we talked about it. But the last time you and I talked, and I think it was Distributech a couple of years ago or even last year, everything that you said then is now. And I think that's having a good grasp of the industry and the change that's going on in the industry. And that's what makes it sexy for people. There's a lot of change. People want to work in an industry that's challenging. Engineers, by nature, because I'm a mechanical engineer, I love motors. Right? I'm not very big on the electrical part. Engineers, by nature, are problem solvers. We're like the Marines who run to danger. We run to problems. Where other people run from them, we love a problem. And change brings problems. So well done in what you're doing here at Qualitrol.
Thank you so much. And by the way, we have a lot of mechanical engineers in Qualitrol.
You do?
We do, actually. The ratio of mechanical engineers is much higher than the power engineers.
That's excellent.
Thank you so much. Wonderful meeting you.
Again, good to see you.
Thanks.